This is the Dery Brothers TribeCast, a podcast for diehard Cleveland Indians fans. Presented to you by WaitingForNextYear.com. Now, here are the hosts, Matt and Todd Dery.
Well, we promised you an emergency Dery Brothers TribeCast here in the wintertime and in January, and following the comments of one Paul Dolan at the Cleveland Sports Awards the other night, Matt and Todd are with you on an early Friday morning recording an emergency Dery Brothers TribeCast. Emergency? Well, we can get into why that is. We'll read you the Paul Dolan quotes. First, let's head west. The great Todd Dery is with me. What's up?
Good morning. It's 5:30 a.m. here in Boise, Idaho. And the good news is I'm coming home today. The bad news is Paul Dolan is still a moron.
Oh, mercy. It's unbelievable. And people are saying, obviously the folks that follow us on Twitter and listen to the podcast, we appreciate you guys joining us. As always, brought to you by the Center for Advanced Dentistry, Dr. Ben Hornstein. Todd, it's pretty amazing. We've gone through this off season, and a lot of people say, when are you guys going to do a show? What's there to do a show about when the team doesn't do shit? Okay, they don't do anything. So we're not going to get on here and talk about Cesar Hernandez, who's a nice pickup and probably an upgrade from still the unsigned Jason Kipnis. But, Todd,
that's not a podcast-worthy signing.
No, it's not. And so now here we are after the Paul Dolan comments. Zach Meisel had them. A friend of the show, Zach Meisel. I'm a huge fan of the Selby Is Godcast. So I was listening to Zach the other day and TJ talk about the Astros and the Indians. It's been a really underwhelming offseason, and Todd doesn't make it any better when the Twins and White Sox have upgraded big time. And then the owner is cracking jokes about his Lindor line from a year ago. It's just stupid.
Zach said something in his podcast a couple weeks ago, I think it was, or maybe it was last week, that every time Paul Dolan opens his mouth, it's a potential PR problem. And that was before these moronic comments. I'm going to let you read them in a second, but because I think they need to be read, because the two paragraphs themselves separately each have its own issue. That's number one. But yeah, we're not going to get on here and talk about the Cesar Hernandez signing like as its own podcast, because while I like Cesar Hernandez, and I think it's great that he's going to play second base every day and definitely an upgrade from Kipnis, it doesn't move the needle. It doesn't make the team that much better. There are still guys out there that could be signed, which gets us into, the ownership problem. I don't know what they're waiting for with Yasiel Puig. I don't know if the rumors that Puig is asking for $15 million a year, which nobody in their right mind is going to give him, he'd be lucky to get 2 years at $15 million. Or, Nick Castellanos is still out there. And I know Marcell Ozuna signed with the Braves this week for 1 year and $18 million, which is essentially a qualifying offer. And he'll hit the market again next year. But, we were sitting here, you and I talk about, can they do this? Can they do this? They're not doing anything. And they're letting two teams in the division essentially pass them when they have a young, exciting core and the best pitching staff in the division. So if they were middling, I would understand it. But they're not. They're right there. You need one or two extra moves is going to change things for the better. And yet they don't do it. It's unbelievable to me, and there's only one direction to point, and that's right at Paul Dolan.
Jason Stark was on Bull and Fox the other day on the Fan and back home, and he even said it. He's not sure they have any money, and it's like, well, they're going to cut payroll over the last couple of years, and I get it. This team isn't, and Zach pointed this out on his show, so I want to give him the credit. I get they're not going to do any Boone Logan signings anymore, where they're going to give a left-handed specialist $7 million a year. Fine, you don't want to dip your body into that pool anymore and go for a swim. I get that. But when you have an immense hole at the corner outfield spots, you're not sure when Naquin's coming back. You're not sure if Daniel Johnson will be ready. No one's as big a Daniel Johnson fan as I am. You've got Oscar Mercado. Luplo, Bowers. Luplo's a platoon guy, and I know Tito is a platoon manager. But at one of those outfield spots, a year ago, you had Yasiel Puig roaming around right field. He did fine. He probably didn't do as well as we hoped, and they didn't make the playoffs. He's there. And then you've got a guy in Nick Castellanos who's likely demanding right now an Edwin deal, 3 at 60. Well, you gave Edwin that contract years ago. You are still in the same position you're in now, which is you're a contender. You're lining up Clevenger and Bieber and hopefully a healthy Carrasco, a very underrated Aaron Savali. You got a ton of guys for that 5 spot, depth all over the place. And you're still, like you said, Todd, sitting on your hands. You can't tell me that Cherninetti wouldn't want another bat. Castellanos is very close friends with Francisco Lindor. They used to share an agent together, David Meter. I know they've dined together numerous times. So, you wouldn't want to get Frankie fired up to be an Indian for 2 more years if you brought his buddy over, who's another bat that they need. We're sitting here late January. Go get him. The White Sox were interested in him and might still be. If you were somehow go to Chicago at the last minute, and what message is that sending to your fans that you're right, the 2 teams fighting with you in the division, at least near the top, are really proactive and filling holes, and the Indians are doing basically nothing, and Tito's doing the radio tour last week for that golf tournament, talking about, we might add some non-roster guys. Oh, God. Great. Sweet.
I'm not asking for a $200 million payroll.
Neither am I.
But in today's Major League Baseball, to be below $100 million in payroll is a joke. It's an absolute friggin' joke. And it's insulting to people like me who are season ticket holders and paying customers to have this kind of a talented core. And it's an exciting group. It really is. But they're just 1 or 2 tinkering pieces away, and they won't do it, and their payroll's $90 million. It's insane to me. It's absolutely maddening and insane. I actually feel sorry for Antonetti and Chernoff that they have to play with their hands tied behind their back.
And all they have to do, all Paul Dolan would have had to have done the other night at the Greater Cleveland Sports Awards as he gets the Lifetime Achievement Award, was give his speech, do his thing, talk about how much he loves the city, putting back to the community, walking off the stage, maybe a couple of the beat guys are there, whomever wants to speak, and just kind of explain what's going on and let the fans know why the payroll, like you said, right now is in the $90 million range, which is 20, 30 million less than it was, I believe, a year ago, and even higher before that. And I get they didn't get those playoff gates last year. The year before, they had 1 playoff game, and by that time, the series was basically over because the Astros, were cheating their way through the first 2 games with the guy in the hat filming our dugout. That's neither here nor there. Shout out to Andre Knott for the great picture from years ago. But regardless, you've had 1 playoff game in 2 years in that building, and that's where sometimes you make your money. But you can't tell me that national broadcast contract, the TV contract, that every team gets the money, that stuff isn't there. And all you got to do is explain it. And I'm stunned that nobody has counseled Dolan about how to talk, how to get the message out for the fans. The messaging's terrible. Bob DiBiasio is a PR genius. He's been the face of the Indians from a PR standpoint for years. Is Bobby D not speaking to him? Where's Bart Swain? He's been with the franchise for years. Isn't that part of your job to coach up the guys, whether it's players, owners, whomever, to kind of get the messaging out there? The messaging sucks. And 2 tribe homers like you and I, we're even fed up with Dolan now.
Here's what I'll tell you on that. I'm going to compare it to the President of the United States. Okay? This is someone in Paul Dolan who has gotten himself into a position, obviously, of ownership. He is a lawyer, so, he probably in his head, he doesn't need people to tell him what he's going to do. And if people tell him, he's probably going to do what he wants to do regardless. He may take it into consideration, unlike the president, but he may take into consideration what others say. But ultimately, when he speaks and he goes off the cuff, he's going to go off the cuff and say what he wants to say, and no one's going to stop that. Okay? So when Trump's advisors tell him, hey, don't do this, and then he goes and does it anyways, I'm sure it's the same thing. Dolan doesn't do many public appearances, but when he starts riffing, God only knows what's going to come out of his mouth. And the last two major times he has spoken, he has completely shot himself in the foot. And it has made things entirely worse on him. It's crazy to think that you could make yourself even more disliked by an already angry fan base, but he succeeded. So I think you should read the comments. Yeah. I know everyone's heard them, but I want to go paragraph by paragraph. There's the two paragraphs that were, and I've heard the clips too. So they played them yesterday on Anthony and Kenny Carmen's show in the morning on 92.3 over and over and over again. And every time I heard them, my skin crawled a little bit deeper. So definitely go ahead, read them paragraph by paragraph, and then let's talk about it.
All right, Matt and Todd Dery Brothers TribeCast on waitingfornextyear.com, and, of course, brought to you by the Center for Advanced Dentistry. Here was Paul Dolan the other night. These were courtesy of Zach Meisel. Boy, we are just standing for Zach today. God love him. All right, here we go. Dolan said...
He's a great man. He deserves it.
No doubt. All right, quote, excuse the voice. I've had a cold for 3 weeks. It's not in my nose, and I hope I don't have to go to my ENT again.
Let's hope you don't have the whatever that virus is going around. You haven't been in China lately, have you?
No. China?
As far as I know.
All right, here we go. All right, last, I want to thank our fans. They are the most passionate fans around. They're loyal. They pass every affinity test. He's right about that. They're at the top. I'm particularly appreciative of a particular type of fan, many of whom are in this room here tonight, and that is the fan who buys the tickets and the suites and sponsorships. 1, because they're fans. 2, because it's good for business. And 3, because they understand it's an investment in our community. That by supporting the teams, you're supporting the community. Our vitality serves the vitality of the community. And for that, I am very thankful. So he's dropping the community blast. Fantastic. Then Dolan closes with, I'll close. It's January 22. We have a lot of winter ahead of us. But next week, we have TribeFest. A couple weeks after that, Pitchers and Catchers Report. And in 64 days, we will be underway at the corner of Carnegie and Ontario. I'm very, very excited about this year's season. We have a good crop of young players. We saw them start to develop last year. And, of course, we have some old stars, one of whom happens to play shortstop, who I know I'm going to enjoy. I'm not sure I can tell you people to enjoy him. He's certainly fun to watch, and I'm looking forward to some October baseball. End quote. I mean, just so tone deaf. He dropped the enjoy him line again, which he should never have said in the first place. Now he's doubling down.
He was trying to be funny, but guess what? It wasn't funny.
No, and here's the thing. In Cleveland right now,
never bring that up ever.
Right, and that's why nobody told him. His wife, whomever, said, "Hey, don't say that again. It didn't work the first time." And I'm waiting for his sit down with Terry Pluto once again, because Terry will go at him. But the first line and the first paragraph about the sponsorship people and the people that own suites and how much he appreciates them. So you're not appreciative of Todd Dery or anybody else that has full season tickets. And how many games did you go to last year in your seats, which are in the stands, by the way?
I have been to. I want to say that in the last. I'd say in the last 4. I think the last 4 years, I'm averaging about 47 games a year.
47. Could you imagine?
Last year I went to about 45. I'd say
45.
I'm definitely over 40 every year. I mean, I have a basically, I have my group, but I have half the season, and then everybody else splits it up basically in tens. But yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I understand that yes, the corporate sponsors and the suite holders are important and are the lifeblood, and because they're giving so much money to the organization. I get that. But how about saying, especially the suite holders, the corporate sponsors, and the season ticket holders, and the fans who come out and can only afford to come to 5 games a year, but they do it anyways because they love our team. Would that have been so hard to just group everybody together?
Right.
No.
Right.
He was playing to the room, which I also kind of understand, but he has to know that this isn't just I'm speaking to a room of people. This is 2020. These comments are going to be heard by everybody. So he just it's this isn't 1976 when you speak to a room and everybody in the room are the only people that are going to hear the speech. Okay, so
right. Look at the team across the street. All right. Every time John Beeline says something that the guys don't like, they run to their agents or are texting in the meeting or whatever and telling them they're gonna push that guy right out of town. Never, ever, ever did meetings behind closed doors between coaches and players in professional sports ever get leaked to agents, or the agents never leaked it to Adrian Woj or Adam Schefter or in baseball, Jeff Passan or whomever. So, I mean, you're right. I mean, it's just tone deaf completely.
Yeah, and so that is insulting to begin with. And you're already – so now you're alienating your fan base even more, who already thinks you're cheap and don't spend money and are watching as the team, which should be great, only is going to – looks like it's just going to be good if everything, falls into place perfectly, they can be great. But, because you're not spending money. And this also comes back to this, and it's the most, I don't think people talk about it enough, is that when John Sherman was the minority owner of the Indians, he allegedly had a path to take over the team. Now John Sherman, who's from Kansas City, had the opportunity to buy the Royals and did. Sherman's now out, and it's not a coincidence that the payroll has dropped the last 2 seasons. Now it's under $100 million. And to me, this reeks of a guy who is hanging around, hopefully things will go okay, whatever it might be, and then is going to sell. Now, his parents are old, okay? Paul Dolan's dad, Larry, has not really been seen at many games lately. I don't think he goes to games anymore. I don't think he's physically able to. But, when this is kind of reminds me of what's going on in Detroit, which is they were, but the difference being Ilitch was going for it. He wanted a title, and he just kept spending. Then he died. The kid took over, and everything was pared down. And
still is.
But how many times have you heard rumors in Detroit that they're trying to get out and sell? Right?
Yeah, but they're not. But you're right. There were a lot of reports about it.
Yeah, I think this is leading to a sell. I do.
Well, I mean that's what fans want, and it's too bad because, like we just referenced the Cavs before, right? They're a clown show. The Browns. I mean, do I need even to say more? Okay, so
the Cavs, who are they?
Right. I mean, so unfortunately, the Indians are the model franchise. One of the reasons why Paul Dolan is up there winning this award, whether you agree or not that he should get it, is that if you play the compare-contrast game around town, he's considered the best owner. All right, he's never had a LeBron James to carry his Gatorade, and bring that title here. And Dan Gilbert's done some good things. We can go over the construction at the Q and who's paying for all that crap. I'm not doing that. I don't even know what it's called.
What about phase 2 of the casino? When's that starting?
It's a good bit. All right. By the way, you mentioned Kansas City before in the Shermanator. How about them Chiefs? All right, a little Richard Christie.
Very happy for Richard and Richard's dad. All right, sorry.
No question. But anyway, so here's Dolan winning this award because he's considered around town to have done some good things, philanthropy, community, and the fact that before last season he had a winning franchise consistently. The Indians were smoking everybody in the division. They nearly won the World Series in 2016. They nearly made the playoffs last year. That would have been 4 straight years. And for those of us who grew up in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, like Todd and I, we remember until it got to 1994 when the strike hit. Other than that, the team sucked. So now, as a kid, I mean, the crying that we all did when we finally won something in 95 and, all these things. Heck, go back to 07 and the wedge grinding team. I mean, it was emotional anytime we won because we never did. Now we got a consistent winner, an owner that stays out of the way and allows some very good front office people to run the team. The Shapiro tree, how many of those guys are running franchises? It is viewed in baseball as a model franchise, but now it's like, all right, the Indians, we've done some good winning, but now can they get over the hump? Can they keep the core intact? And he's not answering any questions. He's making, jokes that aren't funny. The Lindor line about, I know I'm going to enjoy him. I can't tell you people to enjoy him. It's not funny. It's the best athlete to come through this town since LeBron. It's the best baseball player maybe the Indians have ever had. And he's likely going to walk, and you're making jokes on top of the fact that he's still here, and you're not adding around him. It sucks. And it's a bad look, and it's not funny.
It's not funny. It's not fun. It's not funny.
That's right.
But I can tell you that the guy's getting a Lifetime Achievement Award. Essentially, how many playoff series have the Indians won in this 20 years? Basically, one in 07 and
two in 2016.
In 16. Okay, so the guy's won 3 playoff series in 20 years of ownership. And he's receiving a Lifetime Achievement Award. I mean, listen, I know he's a good guy deep down, and he's great for the community, and everyone who knows him and works for him says nothing but nice things about him. But guess what? This isn't, we've said this 8 million times, and you and I have defended him and defended him and defended him. But after hearing those comments about, I wish we had the clip to play, because when you hear the way he says it, I know I'm going to enjoy him. It was like a condescending bullshit tone. And I wanted to be like, you know what? Go fuck yourself. I mean,
right.
I am giving you thousands of dollars a year, and you're not providing
answers.
You are not adding to my value. What added value are you doing and giving me as the fan? Our team over the last 2 years has lost more talent than it's gained. And while we have this great young core that keeps getting better and better, I am watching while you don't do everything you can to make things better. And it comes down to this, and we've said it for 20 years. Well, actually not 20, probably 15, because we didn't realize it at the time. You need a billionaire owner with a B, not a millionaire owner with an M, who treats the team like their toy and not their main source of income. And because we don't have someone who says, you know what, listen, I hate Dan Gilbert. I despise him. I think he's a disgusting person, okay? I do. I'm not a fan. And there's several reasons why I can't stand him. But the guy does everything he can for his organization because he's already a billionaire and this is his toy, and he just throws money at it because he wants to win a championship. Our owner wants to make money and hopefully win a championship in the process. And that's not a good look. And in today's 2020 baseball, when there's no salary cap and there's this bullshit luxury tax, okay, which is laughed at. That's my favorite, by the way, when the Cubs are crying poverty.
Please.
We can. I'm sorry, our $180 million payroll, we're going to have to, it's just, I'm sorry, it's not good enough. Or the Red Sox, we may have to trade Mookie Betts because we got to get under $210 million.
I know.
Cry me a fucking river. We're at 90.
And the Cubs are starting their own network that they're going to make a killing on. Don't give me that crap. That money's going to start rolling in. Give me a break. This ain't STO either.
No, and that's another thing that hampers the Indians. That stupid television deal that they took. It hurts them too because their revenues are as bad as it could possibly be.
Todd,
on the television
how many
side.
times have I said this? Who's on the sales staff? And I don't mean to throw people under the bus, but guys, you got a top 3 television ratings for baseball. I don't know how the Indians are. I think the Indians are fun to watch. I know I'm watching. I don't think I count, but watching from out of town. But my gosh, if your ratings are really high for Indians baseball, and they're even saying the Indians are number 2 or number 3 this month in TV, how are you not selling that?
I don't know. They sell a lot of ads to Tim Misney, that's for sure. I see a lot of Tim Misney ads. No, but
don't mess with him.
But by the way, does anybody else? I'm sure people think this. Jay Billis and Tim Misney could be twin brothers.
That's not. Isn't Misney a little more heavy set or no?
No, they look exactly the same.
Well, I'm thinking of Tax and Tim Hagen. Sorry. Oh, maybe he can buy. Maybe he can buy the team.
That was very good. No, but back to the point, and it just comes down to the fact that if you don't have the financial wherewithal to go in and spend, again, I am not asking for a $150 million payroll, but if you can't even be at $120 million in today's, get out. And I have had enough. I don't like this condescending tone. I don't like the fact that we know we have no chance at signing Lindor. And here's what I would love to have heard from Paul Dolan. And this would have earned a ton of goodwill. You get up on that stage and you say, we have stars, and I know one in particular is a big sticking point, but you know something? I'm going to do everything I can possibly do
in my power,
to convince this guy in my power to stay here in Cleveland, because we want him to be an Indian for life, and he's one of the great players. He's on a Hall of Fame trajectory. He's one of the great players in our franchise history, and we need him here for the rest of his career.
Right. The crowd would have loved it. The crowd would have loved it, and maybe some people would say, you know what, our leader at the very, very top, because the fish rots from the head, is supporting us, and this is cool, and I'm going to go buy a 10-game package, anything, because people are forking over money in Berea and the Muni lot, and even those crowds at the Rocket Fiber Arena or whatever they call it. They're forking their money over because some of those franchises market even better. It makes no sense to me. And I'll tell you this: I was talking to a guy last night at an event I was at who's a big baseball fan here in Detroit, and he's like, "What's your outfield?" But he knows I'm a Tribe fan, and he's like, "Who's your outfield this year?" And I said, "Well, right now it's Oscar Mercado," and he's like, "Well, there's two other guys." I go, "Right." Like
Luplo half the time.
I'm embarrassed to talk about Jordan Luplo, Jake Bowers, Bradley Zimmer, possibly. I'm probably leaving. Maybe Franmil Reyes plays the outfield. Daniel Johnson, if supposedly maybe he's the secret weapon that has a huge spring and has like a Naquin type spring from a couple of years ago. I don't know.
Even if Daniel Johnson lights the world on fire, you know that he's going to start in AAA because Tito, Tito's move, April in Cleveland, no need. But you know what? Last year, as we saw, those games, and I've said this forever.
Yeah, there's a need.
April 2nd game counts the same as September 15th game. And yet last year, they arrogantly went into the season with more offense Stamets, and that costs you. So when you are not playing your best players because young, God knows how many extra games they may have won, even if it was 3 extra wins by starting Mercado at the beginning of the year.
Well, or
maybe you win the division, or having a real shortstop before, a real backup plan to Frankie.
And
we're going off on this.
No, but it's okay, because when you look at it, if you're going to spend money on Hanley Ramirez and Carlos Gonzalez late, because the owner, and who I don't know this for a fact, but if the owner said, if Cherninetti went to Dolan earlier in the winter and said, "Hey, look, we like Avi Garcia. Let's give him more than the Rays by a couple million or $500,000 or whatever it is," and then he goes to Tampa and has a good season, he would have been a lot more of a useful piece than what we started with last year. I mean, Cargo and Hanram was a joke, and they spent money on those guys, not big money, but millions. So it's like, I don't know if that's where we're going again with this. I don't know if they're waiting on Puig's number to come down, but I mean, who's out there for Puig besides us? Detroit? He's not coming to. He's not playing for that team.
That's the thing about Puig. He comes here, he's going to start, and he's your starting right fielder. If he goes somewhere else, he's probably a platoon bat. So, and he's known here. He liked it here. I think his experience here was good. So. Yeah, I don't know. I hope that's the case, but I just want to read a couple of tweet responses I got yesterday because, you and I have long defended Paul Dolan almost more than anybody that I know. But I'm done. I am done defending him. And yesterday I put something, on Twitter that you and I were going to do a pod this morning. And so I got a bunch of responses, but there's a couple in particular that I wanted to read.
What about Andrew Zellman?
Andrew had great commentary. Now Andrew's he's another season ticket holder who has every right to feel the way he feels. Andrew and I we think a lot alike on these things. And he's totally correct. Andrew Zellman, shout out to Cleveland Scene. All right, so here's a couple that I got. Okay, this one was from Angie Mac 12. Okay, she said, I keep saying the same thing. I know I only have had a 20-game package and bought extra tickets for friends to go, spent the day buying food and drinks for the last 5 years. I guess that isn't important to the Dolans. Everyone wants to talk about the second paragraph, but not the first one, which I couldn't agree more on. That was one. Another one, this was from MJ Diddy 42. I've been a half-season ticket holder since 2017. Been to about 25, 30 games a year. Before that, about 10 or so a year since 2002. This is a kick to the nuts from ownership yet again. I agree. It's time to sell. He's so out of touch with the common fan, and I've defended him as well. No more. Okay? So this isn't,
No, we're not alone. We're not alone. And look, I'm not – you said you're done with him. I'm not 100% done, but I'm furious. And
why? Why?
Why am I not – because I'm not still defending. There's no defending this. I'm saying is I made a pact with myself, and I said this on earlier shows. I'm going to wait till this offseason is completely done before I, break the seal here. Seriously.
We're running out of time.
Oh, of course we are. I'm hopeful that I get some sort of text from you or Jeremy or whomever that says, "Oh my gosh, Castellanos." Oh my, because I just know
that you are high.
Of course I am. I'm a complete unrealistic homer. I get it. I mean, I'm not a homer. I mean, look, when they suck, we say it. It's not like I'm saying, no, we're going to be fine. I'm like I said, I'm a Daniel Johnson fan, but they need another outfield bat badly. I don't care if he hits right-handed, left-handed, or is up there with two hands. I don't care. Hitting with a damn paddle. Get someone else in here. The payroll number, is this really what they're going to go into the season with? Like you said, in the 90s? I mean, that was years ago. That's ridiculous.
Even if they sign Puig and they give him, okay, yeah, we got Puig back for 1 year, $10 million. That still doesn't do it. I mean, listen, I'll be happy about it. But what you are talking about is, hey, we signed Castellanos. But here's another aspect of that. If you're Castellanos and you know that Frankie's either going to be traded or he's not coming back here, why would you give multi-years to the Indians? Because the years 1 and 2 have the potential to be good. But if I go 3 years, that third year I'm going to either be traded or in year 2 I might even be traded. So no, to think that he or Ozuna or whoever it might be, we're going to come here is a pipe dream. I never expected them to sign
I still think it's
free
about
agents, but give me Brock Holt and give me Puig. How hard could that be? Get some depth in here.
I told you I had a dream.
Mike Freeman did a nice job last year. Okay, he did that, but that's luck. Wouldn't you like to have Brock Holt instead of Freeman?
I told you I had a dream. I had a dream a couple weeks ago I had a dream the other day that we signed Brock Holt. I don't know. I mean, again, he's a utility guy. He's a Tito type, but he shouldn't.
That's what I'm saying. But Tito loves those guys. And with that 26-man roster now, and it has to be, you have to have a certain amount of pitchers and I believe it's got to be 13-13. I don't think you can do 14 and 12. I don't think. I might be making that up, but I feel like I read that somewhere.
I mean, the Castellanos thing, he's looking to get paid. He's a Boris guy. He had a tremendous end of the season with the Cubs. He was a hero there. He just hit big home run after big home run. He finally had some power there after having his power zapped away by the dimensions at Comerica Park. There's a classic old bit right there. And I think that if you match his contract up with Lindor's and say, hey, 2 at 40 with a player option for a third year, I mean, right now he's still on the market and it's end of January. So
like we're giving someone $20 million a year.
We did for Edwin a couple of years ago.
Yeah, that's when John Sherman had his money in, and they were just coming off of losing in Game 7 of the World Series. It's amazing how times could change this fast, but it has, and there is no chance that you are going to pay someone. Yeah, I'll tell you what.
Well, that's sad then.
Here's what I will tell you.
If you've done it once, you could do it again.
Right, I agree, but the Sherman money is not there anymore. And they had to buy it. I believe they had to buy it all back. Well, not I believe. They're the sole owners. They had to buy it. The Dolans had to buy it all back. But I will tell you this. If Nick Castellanos signs 2 years and $20 million, I will walk to Detroit to come and visit. Whenever that first Tribe Tigers game,
it's very early. It'll be cold. That'll be a cold walk. I think it's like real early.
You should come in for the home opener on March 26th or whatever it is. It's the stupidest shit ever.
Hey, happy March 26th day. You ever hear that in Detroit? March 26th. That's the infamous Red Wings Avs brawl from 1996.
I am not. No.
Sorry, way too much Detroit talk on this pod. Our executive producer will be mad at me.
He would slap your wrist for that.
Let's talk about my run-in with Derek Coleman last night. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, DC. How was that?
How about Charles Oakley? Cleveland's own was there last night. Snuck in, snuck out at the Earl Curran retirement ceremony, jersey retirement ceremony at University of Detroit Mercy. Shout out to the Titans.
Yeah, Cleveland legend Charles Oakley. The guy's the greatest, coolest man ever.
He is.
I'm in the middle of listening to a Dan Lebitard South Beach. It's called South Beach Sessions podcast, and it's him interviewing Jason Williams. You remember Jason Williams, the basketball player who accidentally shot the.
Oh yeah, Jason with a Y. Yes.
Yes, and then I can't give it a high enough recommendation. It's so great, but there's some great Oakley stories in there. Also, if you're a Charles Oakley fan, there's some great stories in there. You know what else we need, by the way? There's not. I'm a big podcast guy, as you know.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of good baseball only podcasts that I really, really enjoy. I tried to get into some of them. They're just not great. I do like listening to MLB Network quite a bit, but
sure.
I need a good national baseball.
We need like
podcast.
an Adnan Virk baseball podcast.
Yeah. You know what? By the way, we will get Adnan on this show.
He said he would.
Be done.
He said he would. He's a busy guy. He's busy at the NHL Network now.
He's all over the place, Adnan. He got screwed at ESPN, but he's all over the place now.
No,
DAZN. You ever watch? You DAZN guy?
No. I don't have it on my cable.
You don't. It's not cable. It's like a streaming service. So no.
I saw him. No, I saw him. I watched it on my phone the first night he was there, but I couldn't give that too much run. What's that show called? He does the baseball only show, Whip Around, or not Whip Around? That's Fox Sports 1.
I don't know what the name is, but it's him and the guy who does HQ, Scott Rogowski.
Oh, Rogo. I don't know. No, I don't know who that is. Sorry. Who's that guy I listened to the other day? Carabas?
Jared Carabas.
Terrible. And that was a rough listen.
Oh yeah, you know what? Real quickly, I listened to the Pardon My Take interview with Bauer, and you listened to that Starting 9 interview with Bauer because he was up at Barstool.
He did two different ones.
Yeah, the one I texted you and Jeremy was the Pardon My Take interview.
No, you sent me the one with Carabas and Dallas Braden.
Oh, I did? Oh, okay, then I sent you the wrong one.
First 45 minutes was complete nonsense.
I fast forward. It's the same thing with the Pardon My Take.
No, I know, but to press the 30-second button zillions of times, and I'm trying to drive. It was rough. I can tell you that people should definitely check out the Pardon My Take interview. I will listen. It
had a lot of good stuff. Bauer handled himself very well.
For a change,
a lot of stuff about the cheating with the Astros. It was like a really heavy on what he knows and what he's heard, and give him credit. He does say, and he says, "Listen, I haven't seen this myself firsthand, but I've talked to enough people. It's like someone told him you can't do this. It's slander and libel. What was that whole thing when you were in high school? Slander and libel." Didn't you like say something back? You wrote something in like the school newspaper about like the basketball coach?
Yes, that was at Brady Middle School, man. Didn't I? I ripped Ed Wood. Maybe I was in high school.
He pulled you. Yeah, it was. You know what? You went to my basketball game.
Correct.
Said, I think I remember your line.
Correct.
Something like,
here it comes.
One of the assistant coaches was doing this, and then the head coach was nowhere to be found. And I was thinking to myself, who is coaching this team? Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, I think I called like a Mickey Mouse outfit, and I got called into the principal's office. And the teacher, Mr. Ed Wood, father of Ted Wood, former big league outfielder with the Giants,
first-round draft pick, Ed Wood.
Basically,
Ed Wood,
got in my face.
Expos.
Yeah, got in my face and basically asked me if I ever coached, and I was like, no. I'm like, can I leave now? I mean, oh yeah, I went right at him, baby.
I think you were in 9th grade and I was in 6th grade.
And I was writing for like the main newspaper, the school newspaper in high school.
The other coach name was Wayne Smith.
Oh my gosh! What about Greg Piscara? What about Greg Piscara?
Look him in the eyes. Look him in the eyes, Rainey.
Oh my God! Now we're really geeking out. Do you ever worry that Mike Clevenger's mouth is going to get him in trouble?
Yeah. It was funny because on the Pardon My Take podcast, they brought up, do you think that pitchers are going to start throwing at people? And I thought for sure at the Astros, and I thought for sure he was going to reference the Clevenger tweet because I know they're good friends, but he didn't. But yes, I do. And I didn't there were some tweets with Clevenger and Lance McCullers and stuff I did not want to discuss on this podcast. But yes, I am worried that Clevenger's going to fly off the handle.
I mean, he's so good, and it's and you could make the argument he should be starting opening day. You just hope that he keeps his once the season starts, his focus is getting people out and not getting them into, like you said, back and forth social media blasts with other players. And look, the Astros are a joke. They've been exposed. They're a fraud, and nobody's taking any responsibility. There's no accountability. I mean, the Altuve and Bregman quotes the other day and sound bites.
That was like a joke.
Oh, I mean,
right?
They're clowns. They're complete clowns. I don't like the Astros. I never have. I liked Altuve. I respected him as a player. I've lost all respect for him. Hey, we're going to go out and win this year. Oh, shut up. You sound like an idiot.
What about Bregman kept saying the commissioner made
his report. The Astros made their report.
Yeah, the commissioner made his report. I said that's going right up there with both teams played hard, man.
Right.
Rashid and
that's right.
And I'm just up here so I don't get fined. Marshawn Lynch. That was like
it's just embarrassing. Like nobody can come out and say we feel bad, or yeah, you know what, we messed up and we feel bad, and our fans having to walk around being called the Astros. We're sorry. That's all I got to say. That's it.
Yeah, not that hard. I agree.
All right, well,
because I gotta get to the airport.
All right, man.
Back to the 216, baby.
There you go. All right. Hopefully, like I said, I'm maybe the last one holding out hope that we do something exciting this offseason, but apparently that's not happening. So, which is too bad because this team is good. You got an all-star catcher, you got an all-star first baseman, you got an all-star third baseman, an all-star shortstop, a budding star, and I believe center field if Mercado, that's where he's going to play. This rotation, people talk about the back end of the pen now with Clase and Karinchak and Hand healthy, and some good pieces around those guys. And we're sitting here talking about the corner outfield spots and acting like nobody. And look, not that our attendance is great or anything, but people still go to the games. The team won over 90 games last year. This is not some stupid rebuild. It's so frustrating.
You said it. It's so frustrating. I couldn't agree more.
All right, buddy. You're the best.
No, you are the best.
All right. Dery Brothers TribeCast Emergency Edition here in late January. We'll talk to you again soon. Thanks for listening. Brought to you by our friends at waitingfornextyear.com and the Center for Advanced Dentistry. Go see Dr. Ben Hornstein.